The UFC 2026 seasonal press conference just took place, and I'm going to give my reaction to all of the highlights. There were some funny moments. There were so many massive stars up on stage, and there was a fight announcement made at the press conference, which I'll get to in a second, because just looking at the stage when they were all set up, it was Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett, Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopes, 2 empty chairs, which is where the fight announcement was made. But at the start, we also had Sean O'Malley, Song Yadong. I was wondering, why would they bring Waldo Cortez Acosta and Derrick Lewis up here? Isn't that going to be too many people? But it was super necessary in hindsight to have Derrick Lewis at this press conference. He was going off and having some really funny moments. But then they got to the 2 empty chairs, and they brought out Ian Gary. No, I'm joking, they didn't. They brought out Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway. And they announced it at the press conference, which I think was an amazing move by the UFC. The only problem I have with it was they announced it in the promo while we were waiting on the live stream at the UFC. So they've got all of these people waiting for the start of the press conference. They play the promo, Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira is official. They announce it. And then they play this 2 empty chair game like we're going to guess who's walking out. They just announced it on the promo. Is there no one thinking backstage? I love this. I love that they're looking to do these types of things and leave the chairs empty with no name tag on the desk, and then bring out Charles Oliveira and then announce Max Holloway to walk out as well, and announce that massive fight at the press conference. Listen, we all knew it was going to happen anyway, but for this to be the way it was made official was amazing. Why are you announcing it in a promo package just before the press conference starts, and then having us wonder who the empty chairs are going to be for? So dumb of them, but I really enjoyed this press conference. So let's go through some of the big moments. It started with Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gaethje, Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes. Not much of anything was said, but one thing that was mentioned almost suspectly was Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett making sure to, even though, Gaethje's had an opinion about the interim belt before and has even said, this doesn't mean anything to me. I want to get the real one. He threw it down on the floor after he won it against Tony Ferguson. Him and Paddy Pimblett made very clear in their first answers to make sure that everybody knew this was the real belt. And even though it's interim, it's just the same as the regular lightweight world championship, even though we kind of know it's not. And I think deep down, they also know that it's not. They both in their first answers made sure to point out that this was for the real lightweight title, and when Ilya comes back, we'll be fighting with him to unify it. They really made a big deal out of this isn't just some gimmicky interim belt, and I think maybe that was told for them to say. I don't want to assume anything, but that's the vibe that I got from their initial answers. Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes were saying some stuff like, "You're going to knock you out, buddy. Oh, yeah, bring it on, pal." And they were going back and forth up there on stage, and it was pretty crazy. The testosterone in the room was just insurmountable, and that was pretty wild. Holloway gave a little classic. We gonna find out Saturday night, baby. We gonna find out Saturday night, baby. Charles Oliveira got a question as well. And they took a while to get to Volkanovski and Lopes, which in my opinion, when I was watching it live, I was like, yeah, take a while to get to him, dude. Nobody cares about that fight. Even though I do care about the fight, it's a massive fight. I thought they were going to leave them till last to kind of spite them, as the MMA media would do. But they got to Volk, and Volk was saying, it's one of these. I don't think Volk's retiring, which is a big deal. But some of the big moments, Derrick Lewis and Waldo Cortez Acosta are going back and forth. So Waldo's saying he's going to knock out Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis talking about no way that's going to... Man, no way that's going to happen, y'all. Donald Trump called me, told me knock out this Dominican motherfucker out, man. Making me look bad on the news. And all this. And Derrick Lewis is coming out talking about, there's been that scandal going on. There's been that scandal going on, so... bet your money on the first round. And he's bringing up the UFC betting scandal. He's bringing up random other stuff as well. They came back to Derrick Lewis at the end, but them two were starting to go back and forth over who's going to win their fight, and how Derrick's ain't no way he's getting knocked out in the first round. Fuck what you talking about, man? And he's saying into the microphone. So they're going back and forth, and I'm glad immediately that Derrick Lewis has been there at the presser, because he immediately knew we need to hype this up a bit. Everyone's just answering generically. And Derrick Lewis thought, I'm just going to amp this up. They're talking about how they're going to be next for the title shot if they win. Oliveira and Holloway were talking about how they're going to be next for the title shot if they win. Arman Sarukian is crying at home as we speak. Because I don't think the winner of Oliveira Holloway is going to be next for a title shot. They've got to be next for Arman. If that's happening as soon as March, I don't know if Arman's going to wait out, but they've got to be talking about the winner of that versus Arman. Because otherwise, they're just building this like 3-man queue to where Arman's standing at the back of it. It's just going to be like, Jesus Christ, dude. This is insane. Arman Sarukin's at the back of a Bonnie Blue line right now. This is real tough for Arman. And he's there with Flowers. You know what I mean? It's a real tough situation for Arman Sarukian. But other than that, Volkanovski was talking about rematches with Diego Lopes and saying, you know, like, this is good for me. I've done a lot of rematches. I've known for winning rematches, and this is his first one. So, you know, all of this type of stuff. And he was going off on all that. And Holloway's sitting next to him. And he's talking about how he's really good at winning rematches. And then Holloway goes, come on, Volk, you got to bring that shit up, man. And he starts going off about that. Like, I'm sitting right here, brother. Come on, brother. I'm sitting right here. And he's bringing up that. And there's a bit of a wholesome moment that I wish they would have maybe asked another question about Holloway and Volkanovski. But we got that moment at the presser. So there were a lot of clips to come out of this presser that were pretty interesting. Diego Lopes was asked how do you think about the other 45 contenders complaining about them not getting a title shot while you are? And he just said, stop crying. And then that was his only answer. There was like a long-winded question about how he feels about the other 45 contenders being left out and expressing their concern for this and all of that. It got translated to Spanish for Diego Lopes, or Portuguese. He speaks both, I'm pretty sure. And he just hit him with a stop crying. And then moved on with the next questions on there. Which is pretty interesting. And then the media ran out of questions. I wish I was making this up. The media members, the MMA media members, with all of those names on stage, they ran out of questions. Sean O'Malley, I think, said he's going to put Song Yadong's lights out. He needs to get back in the win column. He's going to make a statement. Song Yadong said, I look forward to my title shot when I win. And I'm just thinking, you're not getting a title shot if you win at this point. But that was him, and he spoke in a bit of English as well. But after that, the media members ran out of questions. Ran out of questions there. And then John Anik was saying, all right, roll call. Who's got the last question? Come on, any of you? If none of them stepped up there within like a couple of seconds, if they waited a couple of seconds later to step up with some extra questions, that presser would have ended after 15 minutes. Think about that. You had Max Holloway, Volkanovski, Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett, Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, whatever. Song Yadong, Sean O'Malley, Diego Lopes, Waldo Cortez Acosta, Oliveira. If I've mentioned Holloway already, I probably have. Derrick Lewis. You've got all of these people on the stage. And then they start wrapping it up because there's no more media members with questions. Then I think the media were like, oh shit, they're going to wrap this up. Some of the like fan media members got up there that weren't a part of the UFC. And one of them was from Casuals MMA, Gilbert from Casuals MMA. And he just started quick firing like fun questions. Some other MMA media member asked if Volk was going to retire. He said no. That's big news. Volkanovski not thinking about retirement is interesting. I thought that was the reason for him being in Australia and taking all this time off. But apparently not. I think maybe if it was a different matchup, he'd consider it. But I think he wants to get some other names on his record. But immediately, Gilbert from Casuals MMA says, Holloway, you've been playing Arc Raiders. Tell us about Arc Raiders. And then Holloway's talking about, that shit making me crash out, brother. I can't be playing that shit. We gotta find out Saturday night, brother. And he starts going off about how he can't be playing Arc Raiders, which was like a fun twist of a question. And then he goes to Derrick and says, hey, Derrick Lewis, what are you going to do to your wife after this? Man, I'ma bust her guts up, man. I'ma bust her guts up, man. And he starts talking about how he's going to bust his wife's guts up. So Derrick Lewis gets another massive cheer from the crowd from that. And then immediately starts asking, hey, Paddy Pimblett, you called Ilya a sausage? And gave him that voice. And then Paddy's talking up there about, lad, I'm not going to call him nothing, lad. I don't really have a name for him or nothing, lad. And Gaethje goes, you should call me, how about Justin Gaethje? Justin Gaethje is what Gaethje said back to him. So we got all the highlights after they were planning on like covering up the presser, which was insane. You talking about Justin Gaethje? Like that. And yeah, that'll be great, lad. Yeah, Justin Gaethje, lad, that'll be great. No, but for real, lad, I'm not going to disrespect him, lad. I could call him Homer Simpson, but he could fucking knock me out if I said that. So, He's a legend. I'm not going to disrespect him, lad. And I think, maybe if there's some bad blood, we'll get some Pimblett Ilya trash talk like we've seen before. But he's not just going to randomly bully Gaethje for no reason because, he's not a cunt, I guess, is the point he was making. I'm not going to disrespect him, lad. He's a legend, lad. And Gaethje seemed pleased with that response. And Gaethje was talking about how he's the most entertaining and Pimblett's right there behind him. And they want a massive, big highlight fight, like a Gaethje versus Johnson matchup to come back to. And then other than that, I've got Derrick. They asked Derrick Lewis at the end, hey, Waldo Cortez Acosta speaks Spanish. You got any Spanish for him? And I think he said the equivalent of shut up, bitch, in Spanish to the media member in the crowd. Super necessary to have Derrick Lewis there. Super necessary to have Derrick Lewis at this press conference. Definitely needed him. And then other than that, the other highlight, Sean O'Malley, who's fighting Song Yadong, who's Chinese, just to get the record straight there. Sean O'Malley goes to the face-off with a COVID mask on, which is insane. Which is insane. I've never seen O'Malley with a mask on at the face-off before, but against Song Yadong, he thought it very necessary to wear a COVID mask when facing off with him. So Sean O'Malley definitely stole the face-offs. Other than Justin Gaethje doing a backflip when him and Paddy Pimblett were up there, it was definitely Sean O'Malley. But I want to mention again, the MMA media members, you've got all of those stars on stage, and that shit would have been over after 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, that shit would have been over, which is absolutely insane to think about, man. They would have just ended that. John Anik was literally saying, all right, we got anybody else up here? Got any questions for people on the stage? Nope, nobody? All right. And then someone stepped up and said, hey, I've got one. Thank God. If they were a second later, that would have been, let's face these guys off. They announced a schedule, by the way, which was pretty interesting towards the end of the presser, but they would have been done. They would have been done after that, which is absolutely insane to think about. But they announced the schedule. So from what we're seeing, we've got January 24th is UFC 324, January 31st, UFC 325. In Las Vegas and Sydney, T-Mobile Arena and Kudos Bank Arena, which is interesting. We're back in the Apex on February the 7th. The third fight card of the year is in the fucking Apex for a fight night. We knew about that one, though, but that's official. Then we're in Houston, Texas for a fight night card on February the 21st. Then we're in Mexico City, February the 28th. So we got some more fight night crowded events to kick off the year. And then after that, they showed the March schedule. We're back in the Apex March 14th. UFC 326 is March 7th, which means there's no numbered event in February. I guess they did do two of them in January. And then this one is March 7th at the very start of March. So there's going to be like a 5-week gap between the second pay-per-view and the third pay-per-view of the year. So by the time March comes around, we'll have had 3 pay-per-views as usual. Which is interesting scheduling now. I thought they would have spaced it out a little bit, but they want 2 massive cards back-to-back, I guess, or they couldn't get Australia in February. I don't know why. But that's in T-Mobile Arena as well, and that's Oliveira versus Holloway. I nearly said that's Holloway. But that's Oliveira versus Holloway, which is a sick fight. I reckon Oliveira is going to win that one. I love the fight announcement of that. I love the way they did it. 2 empty seats on the stage, but why announce it in a promo before? I knew it was coming. I was like, oh, that's the empty seats. They're going to do Oliveira Holloway. Let me wonder. What are they going to announce? I kind of would have known. But don't show the casual fans the fucking promo piece. Highlight reels of them both. And now official Oliveira Holloway. And they're showing it on the camera on the stage. On the projector to everyone at home, to everyone in the weigh-ins. And then trying to have this mystique over who the empty chairs are for. You idiots. They even left their little name things off of the chairs where normally it would say who they were. Is there no brain behind the scenes at the UFC? I'm going off on this again. Is there no one with a brain behind the scenes at the UFC? To think, hey, maybe we shouldn't do a promo for it in front of the whole live stream and everyone at the weigh-in so that it's already announced when we're trying to do this mysterious thing. No one with a brain works at that company. They tried it. And it is a fun. And I like that they're trying it. I like that they're doing some things like that. And I'd love to see that more in the future when we do these press conferences. We should have one every quarter. So by the time March comes around, we should do another one. On UFC 326 Fight Week, we should do another seasonal one where we get April, May, and June. And then come June, on that pay-per-view, maybe on the White House one, we do another seasonal presser where we get July, August, September. September comes around, we get October, November, December. We get 4 of them a year. Leave a couple of the seats empty. Maybe 1 each time. Maybe 2. And then give us a little surprise announcement, but don't fucking play it on the promo before. But I liked that aspect. I like that fight. And I'm looking. None of these fights are like pound for pound best on pound for pound best like we thought they were going to be. But they're all really fun fights. And that's all you can ask for, really. And then you got March 14th fight night in the Apex. As I mentioned, never going to get out there. Just save it for the Contender Series, man. Do 2 seasons of the Contender Series. What are we playing at? And then I had March 21st. Then we had March 21st is London, England. Might have to show up with 6 security guards. Like a real G. You know what I'm saying? 6 top-level security guards all wearing beanies. Just rocking through the event. Who knows, dude? And that's going to be on March the 21st. That's a fight night card. I don't know what's going to be main eventing. Probably like Evloev Murphy, which probably would more represent London at this point. But yeah, they're not going to have Paddy there. He's on a pay-per-view. Tom's not going to be on a fight night card. Arnold Allen's on the pay-per-view in January as well. So yeah, it's probably going to be Murphy versus Evloev, main event, with like Mick Parkin on the card, Nathaniel Wood on the card, Luke Riley on the card. There's a lot of prospects, to be fair, that they could have fun with and make it a really fun card. But there's no big English MMA name that's going to be available to fight on that card. But it is what it is. Maybe MVP, but I feel like MVP is pay-per-view only or numbered event only. He's kind of like something that they would want to save for those big events rather than a fight night. But maybe they could do a fight night main event with him. And then we've got March 28th, UFC Fight Night, Seattle, Washington is the last one that they announced. So we got everything booked. Maybe I should do a video where I break down all I would put on those cards. Let me know. But that was a decent presser. I didn't mind it. It got lively. Couple funny moments. Couple highlights. Still a lot of them just up there saying things with no energy in their voice whatsoever. But at this point, that's something we have to come to terms with. No Schmitty. Still no... Your best mate O'Malley's up there on stage. Still no Schmitty. Random YouTubers can get on the mic. Still no... That fucking letdown. Absolute letdown, dude. Maybe he wasn't invited. Even though he messaged them saying that he loved them. I don't know. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.